Thank you for tuning in to the World Builder's Anvil, Season 2, Episode 16. Let's build a thing, or maybe two things. Jeff, how many things should we build?
One. Just one.
One thing? Okay, I guess we're building one thing.
Don't know where to start building your fantasy world?
Do you need more? Does it make sense?
Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination.
This is the place where we will prime your mind.
Now, it's time to heat up the forge.
Break out the mithril ingots and hammer.
Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil. I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I'm Michael Miller.
Let's sup from the mug of Java and build. Welcome back. As always, my name is Jeffrey W. Ingram.
I want to build all the things. I'm Mike Miller. Wow, I just said Mike Miller. Ask me why I said that.
Why did you say Mike Miller?
I have been watching the show, which is really funny. If you have Hulu, Last Man on Earth, or Last Man on Earth, I think. And
I've heard of that. I've never seen
one of the characters is named Mike Miller, and everyone calls him Mike Miller, and he calls himself Mike Miller.
Well, it's funny. I actually had a gaming.
It rings in my ear weird every time they say it. I'm just like, and I just called myself Mike Miller.
Well, it's really funny. I actually had a very good friend in the service who I served with in both Germany and in Georgia, whose name was Michael Miller.
I am Michael.
So when you start calling yourself Michael Miller, I had issues because Michael Miller to me was PFC Miller, my good gaming buddy from Florida. So, yes.
Fair enough. Welcome back, everybody.
Here's a side note for you you'll find interesting.
Go ahead.
The character Otto was originally his player character in my world in the service.
Character Otto. I don't know if I remember.
You might not know because I don't know how much you played in my GURPS fantasy game. It was a reoccurring character in my GURPS fantasy game, a half-elf with essentially based off of Kevin Kline's character from A Fish Called Wanda.
A great character.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So maybe you've heard of the Holy Grail or Excalibur, possibly Mjolnir. We're building an artifact today. Jeff is actually holding the Holy Grail as we speak. He has it. Yes, he has one. It is very nice.
I have the cup of a science fiction carpenter.
The reason he says science fiction carpenter is because it wasn't made by a carpenter. It was 3D printed by a podcaster. With sci-fi.
Yes, it's PLA plastic. So,
but it does look just like the Holy Grail from Temple or from Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, which is I actually specifically wanted that look because of the line.
I still think doesn't the bottom go a little further out than in the one in the movie?
It might. It
looks pretty
probably
close.
That's one thing I kind of was my only complaint with this goblet.
So you agree with me that it goes out, it flares out a little far?
I think it flares out just a little bit more at the bottom, but I could be wrong. I want to rewatch all of the movies, and we all know there's 3.
I recently watched it. I watched it not too long ago, like last summer maybe, because Sarah hadn't seen
Last Crusade.
Yeah,
the third and final movie.
The third and final Indiana Jones movie, until they make the 4th one, which is coming.
Maybe we'll see if I allow the 4th one to come. I've decided to be more reserved on judging if it's an Indiana Jones movie or not.
So, As it may shock you, Jeff has a system for building an artifact. There are questions involved and rules.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably try to break them, but
Michael will learn he can't do that.
We're gonna keep this fast and loose as we are on a time restriction today.
We're on a time restriction.
Barrel
and the cool
through
thing
this.
with the system is first there's a warning. Artifacts are the second most dangerous thing to build in world building.
Why is that?
Because the thing is you can go overboard.
With building a bunch of them or with building a thing that's too powerful?
That's a different problem, but it's the too many of them. It's kind of like people where you can create an indefinite loop of time here. Mm-hmm. So be careful that when you're building artifacts, you're building things that you need. And especially at this point, right, we're doing the meta level world building. This is something existentially important to the story. If I had a +2 sword of nose picking, if it was part of a story, I would develop it at the point of the story. I probably in general wouldn't build a lot of artifacts now. I just kind of want to go through the process because I like building artifacts. So we're going to have a an OP artifact that we come up with here, like the skull of Naga Uga or something. That's really lame name.
That's all right. I can work with it. My thing is, we don't really have a story yet. We have a very skeletal idea of what this world and how the story of this world is going to go. We basically just have the concept.
But this will help form the story, correct?
True. I mean, if we want to focus on it, and I immediately have a place.
That's
for
why
it.
typically
We'll get there
when
in a
you're
second.
doing a meta level top down world, you wouldn't really be building artifacts at this point, unless it would be like an important tower. But that would be a place. But maybe
I mean, it could still be a tower. I mean, you look
could
at
build it
Baba Yaga's hut,
place,
which
right?
is a
Baba
place,
Yaga's
but
hut, I would
moves.
consider an item.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is I call them artifacts, or things as my more generic term. I kind of changed it to things because artifacts to me has a connotation of a super powerful like Excalibur or Holy Grail. The things here don't necessarily need to have power. Maybe power is used through them, or for whatever reason.
It could just be really something important. Special. Yeah, it could
like
be
the crown jewels in
England
would be important artifacts, but as far as I know, they have no magical connotations.
Now that's what they want you to think.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could just simply be something special to the character that becomes a focal point for the story.
But see, once again, you wouldn't be building that now.
I know, but
yeah,
I have a place that we can
build them when you need them. You know, when you know you need them. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I want this guy to have a crutch he loves. You know, literally a crutch he loves.
Yes. he has a limp. This is his favorite crutch. He's made 5, but this is his favorite one.
And the whole story will be him finding his crutch.
Okay.
Bring my crutch back.
Why are artifacts important? Why are artifacts important?
Artifacts are important because you need 2 things to make stories relatable: people and things. Setting is all nice, but we as people identify objects. And we can place importance to them, you know, like if you come up with a symbolic cup, you know, you can easily get to Holy Grail if you're from the West. Swords from the West to the East. You know, there are things that just, they are built into our consciences and allow people who interact with your fiction to connect to it, to help them understand a little bit. If you have a very alien world with alien creatures, items become more important at that point, because that really is the thing that people can ground them to understand the world you're building. So artifacts are the things that we interact with in the real world. And so they become easy for us to place ourselves, get our mind's eye into the world.
I have a couple ideas for this thing. All right. So is there a correct order for answering the 6 questions?
Okay. And for those of you who've not listened to Let's Build This season or haven't figured out that there's a very obvious pattern, let me explain the pattern here. Or if you didn't listen to the MVP episode, I always ask where, who, what, when, how, and why. And the thing is, the order is not necessarily important. For me, if I just kind of go through it, I like the order I have them in. But sometimes I kind of know why. Like for an artifact, why was it made?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if it's for the one ring, the why it was made is really
important. Yeah.
And for some artifacts that might be really important, or it might give you a place to start from. Like maybe it was made, like maybe we're going to create a weapon here
to serve a purpose. Yeah.
To fight the invaders the first time they came. So maybe that was why it was built, and we can use it as a starting place. So if you're struggling with the first question, where's the item, then don't worry about that. Go to the next question until you find one that you can sink your teeth into. If you go through all these questions and you don't have anything to start on, that tells you don't need it yet. And write it down in your notebook as there's this spear of destiny. I don't know where I came up with that from. That's going to be important, but I don't know enough to build it yet. But this is something I think I want in this story. You know, so you know, you can sit there and go, if I get through all 6 questions, I have no meat to sink my imagination on. It's not ready to be built yet. And when we're building it all, you shouldn't be building until you have a reason to build something, or you're going to get very generic, very soulless things to go, you know, to fill in the blanks.
Okay, so Do you have an artifact already in mind that you would like to build? I have like 2.
I have no artifacts, but let me give you the ideas I have
Okay.
because it's meta level.
So before we keep going, if you haven't been paying attention, Jeff and I have been building a water world,
Definitely not
an island world.
Island world.
Can you
We'll
work
call
with island world? We'll call it island world. So we've been building an island world, and for that, if you go back through prior episodes from this season, you'll listen to episodes that we talk about the world itself, things that we've built so far, and so that's what we're doing. We're adding more to that world.
Yes. And pretty much as we go in deeper in the series, there'll sometimes be stuff like if I really want to build something for Gardul, I'll state it up front. But most of it, I think at this point, is going to be on definitely not Water World, but Island World.
On very similar to, but not Water World.
No, not similar to at all. Much, much better because it's not Water World.
Okay, so.
Yes.
Oh, I know. I was going to say it. So again, I mentioned this in the other episode. It cracks me up because every time we do this show, Jeff and I have, we Zoom. So I can see Jeff, he can see me. I can see behind his desk, behind him is a bookshelf. And right above his head is the Christmas gift copy of Waterworld that I gave to him a few years back, which I don't think he has watched yet. No. Because he has seen the movie one too many times already.
Yes.
And I think you've only seen it once.
I think I tried twice to sit there and go, it couldn't be as bad as I thought. Yes, it was.
Yes. I disagree. I think it's a lovely movie.
You would.
I would. The movie just gives.
That's the difference between a storyteller and a story taker.
I'll give you
if you're a storyteller, you always think you could do it better. Maybe your pros aren't as good.
Well, obviously, I think I can do it better because I'm sitting here with you making an island world.
Okay. So now let's go in, and here are my few ideas. One, I think it's something that needs to be involved in the war.
I agree.
Between the
100%.
two sides. I don't have any idea if it's a weapon or not, but
I don't think
if it's a weapon, it needs to be something that's really put away that they think is way too dangerous to have out normally. Because
I'm thinking that it's a tool that could be weaponized. So I think
that's where we end up going. Okay.
I think the native people use it as a tool, but the invaders see it as a potential weapon.
Okay.
I
think we're going to explore this now because, like I said, I had no idea. I knew I wanted it there. I kind of thought that there could be a quest, if not a side quest, to maybe either turn it into a weapon, and that might be the thing. Maybe you have to go to the heart of the enemy to get the thing to weaponize it, and that might be why they want this so bad. It's because this tool is native. Ooh, okay, let's go there. I like this. Okay, this is juicing my stories.
I've already got stories going right now. Yep. I have an idea of what this thing can do. So let's get to the
mark this on your calendar, folks. 754 episodes in ish. Michael hasn't had one good idea, which is
really
true.
Really true. No. Okay, thank you. Okay, so where is the item? Where is it? I think we agree it's with the native people.
Well, I think now it's a common thing for them.
It's a singular item, right?
Single thing.
It's a single thing. If it's a single thing, and I want it to be powerful. I want it to be magic.
I want it to be if it's done. It has to be world shaking, right? So let's make it a thing. Okay.
So if that's the case, then who's going to use it? It's got to be like tribal leader or some sort of leadership or clergy, or you know what I mean?
And we don't know enough about the religion yet. So we don't know enough about the society yet either. So could it simply be something that whoever the hierarchy is bestows upon the common man? Maybe it's a common man tool. Okay, there's a couple things here, and I don't know enough about frogs or the race yet because we have a very preliminary sketch of the race.
Yep.
Typically, for most things, especially early in developmental periods, you get sort of God King ideas, but that's typically only in areas with irrigation. And that's one thing I've noticed, like in areas where you need irrigation to make a lot of crops to support large populations, people who control the water source are really powerful. So not Mesoamerica, but in Mesopotamia, you had God Kings because literally they controlled the dikes and they could shut your dike off and cut water off to your farms. So I guess they're God. But here it's more lush. I think it's a bit more tribal. So
I don't think frogs are what's the word? Like schooling. Gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're not like fish. You know what I mean?
No.
Maybe at the polywog stage, because you see them all together at that point, right after
for safety,
after they've hatched, right? But
but now they're up in the trees, they're more equal. I don't think there's a huge difference.
I say we change that. Let's not make them like, earthbound frogs. I say we make them like fish. They are more a schooling type, a stay together society type.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
How this artifact goes, so where the item is, we know it's with these people. Do we want to get more specific than that? Like, is it passed around? Is it held in a specific place and only pulled out for its purpose every now and then?
I think we need it to be mobile.
I see them as relatively mobile, yeah.
So whatever it is has to be mobile. So, and it has to be something needed.
I think we need to answer like 5 questions at the same time here.
Yes.
Why don't here's what I here's what I propose. Let's ask all the questions, then let's have a discussion, because I think we will answer the questions as we go and we can check them off as we go.
And then we can have the discussion.
Okay. So, where is the item is the first question. Who made the item? What does the item do? When was it made? How was it made? And why was it made?
Okay, so who made it? I
don't know if I can answer that yet.
I have a thing for that, so that's why I'm going here. This was made in ancient times to these people, like like early oral history. It's like a thing of legends that's still in their hands, and it's the thing that allowed them to stay on land to bring this life of plenty, to themselves in this land. So it's something involving the land and them first coming out onto the land, at least in the oral stories. It's probably not exactly how it happened.
Here's what I'm going to offer, because this was the idea I had in mind. I had the idea of it being something that allowed them to manipulate water. So let's have it do both. Let's have it be, it allowed them to get onto land, i.e. maybe it started with they were able to make bubbles of water on them until they developed the ability to breathe above water.
Okay. So I'll give them a head start
Give them a head start on evolution.
Okay.
So,
sure.
But let's say there's something more. I mean, we can evolve what it can do. So for them, it's a tool that allowed them to do that when they started. And maybe now they use it more as a hunting tool, maybe a safety tool to, like, everyone goes out into the water, but this allows them to they could make the water be so that they can prevent predators from getting to them.
Salt water into the land. And the salt water they need the salt water. So now they don't have to go into the open ocean to breed. They can breed in pockets in salt water on the land. And it allows them to essentially expand into the
safety,
this island. Yeah.
So my reason for it being that way is the warring faction, the invading peoples, they can take that and use it in the opposite fashion to take over other places. They can use water as a weapon.
Fear, and this is maybe the fear, is maybe it's that they could transfer the salt solution from the ocean into fresh water, so it can transform fresh water into salt. Fresh water being very important to the fact where if you have too much salt in it, it will preserve the thing drinking it and ergo kill it. But keep it in its current state, which is, I guess, nicer. But you can use it to sow destruction. If you go into like a tropical island, turn all the fresh water into salt water, the people who live there are done. You can't fight anymore. So their ability to transmorph the water from salt to fresh.
I feel like that is not something that this warring faction would get behind, because when we talked about who they were, it was a much more savage race. We're talking about usurpers and lizards that bite hand to hand and get close up. So them being like, "Ha, we shall poison their water supply." Ah, ha, ha. I don't see them doing that.
You don't see a savage.
No,
people
I see them
salting water.
I see them doing something more immediate. Like that's a slow death, right?
No, that's very quick actually.
Well, I mean, the plants are not going to be immediately dead overnight. They might be on their way to dying overnight.
Yes, but for the people who have to drink the water, it starts to drive them insane, weakens them, and it gives you a huge physical advantage. But if you already have one, how much more is that? But it could be a fear that it's a weapon used against them as well.
Fair enough. And maybe that's what's kept them at bay for so long, and thus they want it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's along
because
with
if they can get a hold of it, there's nothing this race can do to stop them. They have numbers and strength. Their superior weapons are meaningless, if they don't have this super weapon.
Yeah. Okay. So the item, well, we haven't answered the question. What is the item?
Okay. What is your idea of the item?
I mean, I know it might sound silly, but some sort of spear or trident comes to mind just because I have like this aquatic vision of these frog people.
Let's go trident, but a two-prong.
I can work with two-prong.
A bident.
So, because I'm thinking of like being in the water and spear fishing, so that's what makes me think spear, not like air, not a land style spear, but like a spear fishing style spear is what comes to mind. Yes. Well, not harpoon, but
not
something smaller. Yeah, not that big.
Okay.
So who made this item? And so it can move water. It can salinate water. What else can it do? And who made it? And how?
I think it was made by the god, like
a god,
a god of this world, the one worshipped by the frogs.
Mm-hmm. Frog.
That's
god.
the story, at least.
What kind of god does a frog worship? A bigger frog? An egg?
Well, some of them, remember, they came from the water to the land.
A water god, some kind of water elemental,
god, yeah.
Some kind of water. But I mean, what is this god? I mean, we don't have to go crazy making the god. We're trying to make the artifact, but just to give me an idea of what I'm thinking about.
I mean, he's definitely something, a transitional state, a mud flipper god, I think. So
okay,
so
like he is the mud flipper, or he is like primordial.
He is the primordial mud flipper.
Okay, I like that.
He's like a mud flipper, but he's not really a frog, but he's somewhere in that state between being living on land and not. But this was a tool he presented to his children, who became the frog people. At least that's what they think they're his children.
We had decided that these guys had didn't we say that they had superior weaponry?
Yes.
Okay.
The defenders, yes.
So this thing we're going to say is made of a metal that is not affected by salt water, i.e., some sort of
some sort of
special metal, whether it's alloy or magic.
We'll figure out something that doesn't dissolve in salt water. Yeah,
that would be stainless steel. I've figured it out.
Yes, that would work.
On Earth, that would work, but obviously we're not on Earth. We're on Island World.
Island World. Definitely not Water World.
Definitely not, but very similar to Water World. You know that this world is going to have some sort of Kevin Costner character, right? You know that I'm going to insist on that.
Well, maybe we'll make him the god that they worship.
No. I don't want him to be a god. I literally want him to be a periphery character that's a solo guy out on the water
that everyone hates.
That everyone only occasionally sees and doesn't actually interact with. Him. Yeah. Oh God, there's that guy who can breathe in the water.
Like the rest of us,
right? Well, the lizards can't. The frogs can, but the lizards can't. Okay. So a god made the item. It is a spear, a two-pronged spear. Why did he make it? Was it just to have them? Were they a faithful but dying species?
They were a faithful but dying species. The creatures of the deep were strong, and they were coming forward from the depths, and to allow them to escape to paradise.
Because the frogs are tasty.
Yes, the frogs are delicious, much like me. So yes, it was to escape. It was to escape the depths.
And I say that they didn't become poisonous until they made it to land.
Yes.
That way, it still backs up the tastiness of.
Or according to them, they had it. That was one of the reasons they developed the poison. But these creatures are so deep, so evil that it was not powerful enough to stop them.
Possibly. All right. So we know who made it. We know when was it made.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a timeline for this planet yet?
We don't have a timeline for this planet, but in the context of the species, it was ages ago, whatever that means.
Generations.
Yeah. So it's been a story passed down over. It's been an oral story passed down over.
If you had to tie some human years to it, what would you say? A couple hundred years? A few thousand years?
Probably a few thousand years.
Probably a few thousand years.
Yeah.
How was it made? Did the god just poof it into existence?
Well, the story is.
Well, let's have it. Yeah, there's got to be a story.
Yeah. He swam into the volcano that formed the island and pulled this from the heart of the island.
I like it.
It is the metal, the heart metal.
Bore of the heart of a volcano. All right. So our where is on this island and with these people. Our who made it is a primordial god. What does it do? It manipulates water. Mm-hmm. It can salinate or desalinate water.
Yes.
It can also control and move water.
Mm-hmm. But a limited effect area, though. So
yes. I'm not saying you can move oceans from along
into fresh water. Yes.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, as a person that doesn't breathe water, I could hold this and walk out into the ocean.
Water. Yes.
And the water, I could.
You could keep.
I could keep an air bubble. I could move the water away from me, and I'm saying that is a large, powerful area effect because it gets used against these lizards when they come.
Mm-hmm.
So it's powerful enough that it can be wielded and very successfully hold back a large force.
Yes.
So that's why they want
and even the generations ago when it happened here, there's a legend of what they call the ocean walker. And he walked in the depths behind their ships, forcing their ships as they were coming to land to be sucked back out into sea. Because it was just a big hole and the water near the shore to start rushing into the hole, and it caused them to lose control of their ships. And most of them, the story is that very few or none survived, but the truth is some survived.
Okay. So we know what it does. When was it made? A few thousand years ago.
Mm-hmm.
How was it made? Primordial god went to
forged
the heart,
by a god in the heart
forged by a god in the heart of a volcano. And why was it made? To save this very faithful frog race from oblivion in the depths of the ocean and allowing them to breed safely on land.
Yes.
So that's an artifact, guys.
I like that. That's a good one. That's a powerful one.
Can I quickly make and propose a second really small artifact?
Yes.
So this is a super powerful artifact we just made. But while we were starting the episode, I had the idea of a really small, more personalized artifact. I say some sort of small craft, like a canoe, like a one to maybe 3-man thing that one of these frog guys made a long time ago, because they can't use the trident all the time, or the bident.
Well, there's other things to do, right?
Right. So they make small boats to do things that allow them to go further out into the water and be safe from whatever's in the water. So if they're going to go, to gather food, like go fishing, they'll take the boat out, but then they can jump off the boat. And of course they can breathe water, so they can go down deeper and they can do stuff. But if a big predator comes along, they can hop back into the boat. Wait for it. So this is the story that my brain was running with in the beginning of the episode. So there's this canoe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a family canoe. Like the guy made, whatever great ancestor made this canoe. And whenever he took that canoe out, he always came home. There were times he went to other islands. There were times there were storms and he was caught out in a freak storm. Should have killed him. Should have destroyed the boat. He drifted back to the island after the storm, battered and whatever, but alive. Never died in this boat.
The kayak of Canute.
Is this a thing?
Sure.
What is it? Oh, or did you just
No,
make that
I
up?
just made up that name.
Oh, I thought you were referencing something. So it's a whole thing that like this family has this canoe, and whoever takes it out always comes back alive.
Okay.
So it's not magical per se. Maybe it's just good
And
luck.
here's one of my thoughts too.
Maybe it's just a well-made canoe.
The spear has been needed in so long. They don't even. It's more of a symbolic thing.
Like they don't rely on it.
Well, they don't even know how to use it anymore, I think.
Ooh. Well, then
but
then how would the lizard people know about it?
Remember, the invasion was several hundred years ago.
Oh, so we're saying that it's legend to them too.
Yeah. So for the frog people, they maybe even still have this thing, but they don't even think that the thing that they have is the real one. It is. They just don't remember how to use it.
Okay.
And so part of any story would have to be to be able to relearn, this,
how to focus, how to make it happen.
Yeah.
Have they lost their faith?
Because of their technology, they just haven't needed it. And they have the island set up to where this is breeding grounds, this is that.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't needed it in a long time. So, and so that way they just don't wipe out the enemy as soon as they come again. So,
well, right. Well, I'm gonna push and say that they know how to use it a little bit, like so they can still move water into land, or maybe just do the desalination or salination thing so that they can breed safely.
they have a non-weapon version of the weapon at this point. Yes, something like that. It's like they don't have the full OP power to it, but they can do minor stuff like bring the Titans and according to the rituals, which we'll do in a different.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So there's like a breeding ritual, but not like the breeding isn't part of the ritual. The ritual is to get water so that they can safely breed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because water's going to evaporate. If you're inland on a tropical island, that water's not going to stay salt. It's going to end up fresh.
It'll end up fresher or evaporated.
Exactly. That's my point. So
now,
but I like my canoe though.
Your canoe of Canuck.
Canoe of Canuck.
All right. So now for the world building episode, or world building task, Michael.
Guys, make an artifact for your world, for your fiction, for whatever you're working on. Make some cool artifact. Does not have to be the Holy Grail. It could simply be a canoe.
Yes. And then for your real world task, with your hands, forge something in steel or plastic.
Or pen and paper. Maybe not everybody uses those materials.
Or
I mean,
whatever you want to use.
I use steel.
Make
you
something.
Use plastic.
I use plastic, yeah. And I use plastic infested with wood sometimes as well.
Nice.
Not yet. I don't have any of that, but I'm going to get some of that just so I can make wood.
What is it? Is it fibrous? Is it?
It has like wood fiber with a little bit of the plastic, so you can actually 3D print wood. Probably more like fiberboard kind of wood, but
interesting. All right, guys, go check out the closed Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Undercroft. Shoot Jeff and I messages on Facebook. Bother us about your artifacts. We'd love to hear what you come up with. Yes. And otherwise, do we still do? We haven't mentioned. It is there. The Amazon. I was going to mention that.
Yes, go ahead.
So if you guys want to go do some Amazon shopping with your post-holiday gift cards, go to gardul.com/Amazon. That's GARDUL.com/Amazon. It's just going to take you to Amazon through our portal. It will help the show. It's not going to change your prices. Just going to give a little, little something, wet our beaks a little, help the show, and we'll continue giving you great content like this.
Most definitely. Or I'll put an affiliate for Audible in here where you can get, instead of the one free audiobook, if you do a 30-day trial, you'll get 2 free audiobooks.
Very cool.
And to be honest, I did the exact same thing and then I canceled mine. Kind of silly, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. I find if you're in a household, cost effective wise, it's only really great to have one. But if there's, maybe you don't want to share your books with the other person, then you won't do. But it's good. It's good. Get the Wheel of Time, people.
What are you playing with in your right hand there? Is that a ninja star?
Oh no, this is actually it's a snowflake tool.
Is it what is that, like hex?
It's like
those Allen wrenches.
Allen wrenches, and it looks like I don't know what tool this would actually be useful for, but it's mainly Allen wrenches.
Yeah, Jeff is holding a snowflake keychain, and
like a ninja star.
Every point on it is an Allen wrench. It's having had tools like that. Nowhere near as useful as actually having an Allen wrench.
No, but it is cool.
It is kind of neat.
And I do have to get going because it's almost time. So
All right.
have a great time.
good
I'll
one,
see you
guys.
next time, folks. Thank you so much for listening to the World Builders Anvil.
We would love it if you would share the World Builders Anvil with 2 of your friends.
And so would they.
If they are unfamiliar with podcasts, then you get to introduce them to the wonderful world of podcasting.
Take them to Stitcher or iTunes, or best of all, just send them to our website, www.gardul.com.
That's GARDUL.com.
Now strike while the mithril's hot.